Today we will be taking apart this lovely RCX 1.0 LEGO Brain piece from the LEGO Mindstorms Robotic Invention Systems kit. This is back from way back in, I think, 1999. Super excited to just pick this set up. I actually got this from a friend who was cleaning up house and decided that he wanted to get rid of this kit. And I said, I'll take it. So we have this lovely Mindstorms kit now in addition to the Chris Bricks collection. Looks like we have all these awesome pieces here, but before we get too far into it, we're actually going to take a look at cleaning this brain brick. So this has been sitting for a long time, could even be 15, 20 years at this point. So we're going to take it apart. I'll show you guys how to do that and get this cleaned up, so you can do this at home with your own RCXs. All right, so before we get started, just a couple simple tools here. You're gonna need this Phillips head screwdriver. This is just one I have laying around. It's a pretty small set that you're gonna need. And then I have a flathead screwdriver as well, just for prying and cleaning purposes. So just these two screwdrivers should be plenty to get you through this job here. Taking a look here at the front, looks pretty clean overall. I don't think we're gonna have too much to do there. This has obviously been very well kept. You won't notice any screws that are visible. So in true LEGO fashion, it's just they click together on this back plate here. So you separate this gray plate from the yellow top. Peels right off. Now I already did go ahead and take the batteries out of this and clean it up a little bit, but there was quite a bit of corrosion on some of these terminals. And I'll show you here a couple tips and tricks as far as taking this apart and where to look for some hidden corrosion, so you won't believe it now, but there is a ton of corrosion underneath this plate as well. So in order to get this plate off, there's going to be these 4 screws. 2, 3, 4. This is where your Phillips head comes in handy. So let's go ahead and get these guys removed here. All right, screws are out here. So remember, anytime you're working with these fine screw heads, just be really careful not to strip them out, because they're all pretty soft metal, and it'll be really easy to strip those out. These ones came out really easily, so not a lot of resistance there at all. So now you'll have these 4 screws removed. We can go ahead and separate this green battery holder from the yellow faceplate here. Actually comes off here pretty easily. One of my tips for you here is that there are actually 2 metal, there's these little metal, we'll see them when we pull it off, little metal clips. So you don't want to pull this straight out with force, or you're going to risk breaking those clips off. So you kind of wiggle it up here, and then I'll just kind of finesse through it. You can see how it's starting to separate, but it's not pulling all the way up. That's where those clips are holding on. So we very gently separate this, and you're gonna have to get a little bit of an angle on it here as well in order to pop those clips off. There we go. So here's one right here. First clip here that I'm talking about, like so. You see how it kind of angles into the yellow plate there. And then there is a clip on this side as well. So that's what I'm gonna very carefully peel off there. And there you go. So one clip there, second clip there, and look at all that corrosion. So good thing we pulled this off, because you would not have noticed from this side that there was any issue at all. And then we'll take a closer look at the yellow plate here. Super clean. I mean, it looks brand new underneath here, so that's great. These are where those metal clips I just pointed out slot into. One here, one here. It's important to remember the orientation of these clips when you take it apart. So the side that says RCX 1.0, that side is where you put the small clip. So small clip, big clip, small clip goes on the RCX. So when you reassemble that, like so. Something else you may have noticed that one of them fell out when we took this apart is this little gray, it's like a gray spacer bar. You can see one in action right here. They clip into these little slots on the battery holder. This is some kind of spacer so that the yellow piece can fit on this correctly. You want to make sure these are oriented correctly as well. It's kind of tough to tell from first glance. So see, I'm not doing that one right. It's not going all the way down. But there's actually markers There we go. So you'll see that this is the correct orientation for your gray spacers. There's a green nub here and one here as well that limit how you can actually put those spacers in. And then they come out pretty easily. You'll see the little slots here for those spacers to go. So make sure when you reassemble this after cleaning it that you have those spacers in correctly. So now we're looking at all this corrosion here, and you're going to wonder, well, is there an easy way to get rid of that? And there is an easy way to actually remove those connectors. So this is where our flathead comes in handy. You can just pick one of these connectors, slowly, very gently, because I don't know how you get replacements for these, very gently use your flathead and push those connectors down. Oh, see, now it's kind of stuck. Maybe not so gently. Let's do that one for the sake of the video. We'll eventually do all of them, but you can very gently push those connectors out with your flat. Then what you'll notice is that's lifting these connectors up. Let's do this one here. There we go. So now, very carefully, and there you have it. You have your battery holder right here. So this is a good way to take these out and deep clean them, especially if you have something that's very corroded, like this unit here. This came from a very well-kept home, but it still had batteries inside it. So if you do pick up these units, definitely make sure and check for this corrosion, especially the hidden kind underneath the plate. I'm going to go ahead and take all these individually apart. We're going to go ahead and clean them up. All right, so we've cleaned out the entire battery holder and then removed the corrosion from all of these little battery holders. I would like to mention that I did need a little bit of WD-40 sprayed into the connectors here in order to get some of the stubborn ones out. So you can always use a little bit of some kind of WD-40 or other metal safe lubricant like that, so that you can go ahead and get these stuck guys out. But as you can see, overall much cleaner here. We've got all the corrosion removed from these connectors, and there was quite a bit hidden in some of the stubborn little cracks and creases and whatnot too. So we've got these cleaned up, and now let's get them reinstalled and see if this thing powers on. Actually, one more thing before we get to that, I just thought this was really cool to point out. You can see the copyright here, LEGO Group 1999, stamped into this little electronics board, which I thought was super cool. And then you can also see on one of these chips here, it's actually got the LEGO mark as well, along with the serial number, and then looks like it was made in Japan. So just a super cool little touch that I found there, that LEGO really does have their stamp on everything that they make. So you know this is legit. So we'll go ahead and reinstall these clips here on the battery box. Keep in mind that you want to keep the minus and plus orientation of the battery unit. You want to pay special attention to that. So I'll just go off this guide here. This is going to be the minus side where the batteries slot in. So we want to put all the minus sides on this side of the green box. And these lines in here actually serve as orientation guides as well. There's these little slots here, these little ridges that plug in, so it's going to be kind of hard to mess it up. Just make sure you pay special attention to the orientation of the brackets before you put them in here. So we've got the battery cover back into the yellow plate here. Another detail to point out, you want to make sure that little yellow tab pushes through the green plate. That is a sign that you have correctly aligned your base plate, screen base plate, onto the yellow top plate. So make sure that those tabs line up, and then of course check for your screw orientation as well, that you have those correctly lined up before you go any further. All right, so we put everything back together and tried new batteries, and the unit would not power on. So I went ahead and separated this yellow faceplate here, and there's no corrosion or anything. So I'm assuming that this component is fine and not causing any issues. But I did notice when I was looking at my battery connect clips, this tab is snapped here. So it's got a very small, well, actually it's split off pretty well there. So that tab it must have corroded and been bent enough repeatedly to snap off. So that's obviously going to cause some connection issues. So next steps on this bad boy is going to be go ahead and solder that connection and get that fixed back up, and then we'll go ahead and reassemble the unit and see if it works. So thanks everyone for joining me on this journey here of what I guess is now part 1 of the RCX 1.0 revive from this lovely 1999 Mindstorms set. Thanks for joining me. Leave a comment below if you have any experience with these units, any tips that I could potentially use to restore this on my own, but I'm very excited to get this thing going and restore this old set back to its former glory. All right, thanks for stopping by.